Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights in Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. That's such a cool song. A cool 3 seconds. Malibu, headed south before the governor and the mayor and all that decided, oh shit, we got caught with our pants down and let the whole area burn to the ground. So got a great day today. We've got 2 more exciting guests, awesome conversations. Carrie and I were just messing around with each other back in the green room. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be really fun. The only thing I'm afraid of is that we may go off the rails. Who knows? I mean, she's a bigger goofball than I am, I think. And I only met her for a couple of minutes back there. But the message is what really drew me in. And then I got to meet her personality. So hell yeah, that was a great catch right there. Carrie, can't wait to bring you in here in a couple of minutes. Got a couple of people kind of jumping in and out and seeing what they want to do. Is this a good vibe or not? And this story is so important because, we do so many different topics because the great middle class has a lot of needs. The great middle class of America, and of course, by extension, the world, any working class, any middle class of any developing nation, much less any nation at all, is the backbone of that economical structure. I mean, you got to build it to buy it, that circles. Money's got to exchange hands for any kind of economic system to survive. That's how it all works. There's different systems, and we're all hearing about all that stuff right now. So, but at the end of the day, you've got a working class, a great middle class that needs to be unencumbered, needs to have, the elites. And there's nothing wrong with this. Oh, I never did change the lighting in here today. Shoot. The elites have a lot more access to. Oh, here we go. We're getting started here. Okay, I better move this along. We got about 43 people on right now. We're diving. I told you, Carrie, we got about 10 minutes until these son of a guns start getting mouthy. And they're trying to figure out what we're all getting into here. This show in particular, this episode, which by the way, I'm really excited. I'm teasing you guys about the show. I keep telling you, and then I back up. So I just remember yesterday in the second show, I figured out how to do Facebook. So we stream now to, and I think that's part of our growth because we stream. We're on StreamYard. That's our streaming software. It's pretty cool software. Anybody ever want to get into this or Carrie? I know we were talking about some stuff in the back. It's a great application. It does what the most important thing in the world is. You could stream time after time after time. Fairly easy setup. And I am now streaming, or this show is now streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile, my Facebook profile page, and then the YouTube, of course, here, and then X, Twitter, and then Instagram. In between these shows, we go on TikTok live. We have to use a different system because they fight each other. All the other ones just receive the stream. TikTok is its own StreamYard, for lack of a better word. Anybody who's done TikTok lives or seen them, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm really excited that we're adding Facebook to the family. All of our social media is blowing up. I appreciate you guys. We're sneaking up on 9,000 subscribers now, and our first live stream on this platform was Constitution Day 2024. So in other words, September 17th in last year, not even a year ago. But we're doing multiple live streams, at least one a day. We've got the AI school started, the community building up over there, and that's a really exciting thing because all these things that the great middle class needs, they need to build up themselves and be not qualified, but be worthy of being a partner, right? Being a family member, being a business, being somebody that your vibe, your chakra, your ability to bring what's around you to a higher level. We're all about the human species. This human experience is about energy and frequency, because we're human. We're flesh, we're blood, we're mammals. So Carrie is talking about going through some of the things she went through in her childhood, which, as we all know, far too many people literally live in depression and try and come out of it every once in a while to have a happy moment. We're not built that way, but I swear, I don't know the exact numbers, Carrie. We were kind of throwing the number back and forth, but I got to think it's somewhere around 70% of people, not just adults, but I mean, kids are, there's all sorts of stuff happening that we're in an evolution that we need to kind of clean up our own laundry as we go into that, because then we're worthy of what's coming. And AI, which is not today's subject, folks, so easy now. AI is coming, and it's coming at lightning speed. Like the technology back in the day came, and industrial revolution, this that came, and then now we're not talking about years or decades. We're talking changes in months, days, and years. Total difference. The Jeffersons are coming, but we got to be ready for it. Carrie Blaser is gonna talk about Z or S, Blazer. We talked about it. I just caught that it was an S, not a Z. I can't hear you. Sorry, Carrie. Just wave. I could see you, but you can hear me. There you go. So she's on this mission. We're going to talk. You know how we always like to go on what happened before the mission, the journey, what the path you're on, what started the lights to lead towards that. This one's self-explanatory. Carrie, I think I got them all fired up for you here. We're going to be talking about what happened, why, and this and that led to, and then the men in her lives, the men in her life, the Red Pill Brigade. I'm going to call them a brigade. How's that sound? The brigade that worked with her in different areas to bring this all about. We're up over 120 people now here, Carrie, and they're going to get really tired of listening to me pretty damn quick. So I'd like to bring on my new best friend, Carrie. How you doing, Carrie?
I'm great, thank you.
So let's go back to the red shirt so we can kind of set things up and then go from the beginning up. I want to hear that color, because
yeah, the red pill. Red pill is a lot of people. There's a lot of podcasts of red pill, like Fresh and Fit, whatever podcast. Andrew Tate, his best friend Justin Waller, and the men that I attracted into fire academy instructors, FBI agents. So, men's men, so to speak.
Exactly. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. So, but what got my journey started is and I will confirm that it's true that at least like half of all people have mental illness. And there was a study in Psychology Today saying exactly that. And that half of all kids these days do not develop a secure attachment to self. And when you can attach to yourself, then that's how you process your emotions. And then you don't hold on to your emotions, causing the mental illness. But this is today's day and age, and that was my childhood.
So before we continue on, they're already start. Oh, is that producer? I don't have my glasses on. I can't see shit. I think that's producer Barbie. I told you she'd be on here because of exactly what we were talking back there. Nope, that isn't. Actually, that's a guy. See, I told you. So, the where you started, your childhood brought you to. But I got distracted there. I was trying to remember what you were the point you were making, because go back over that first part. Give me that last sentence and a half. There was something there I wanted to grab onto.
it was about the Psychology Today article.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So as children, when we don't learn how to process our emotions, we do not create a secure attachment to self. And so the
Bingo.
study showed that over 50% of kids these days do not have a secure attachment to self.
So my question was, thank you very much. That was that would have been a less than impressive moment. Not that it wasn't, but you saved my ass, and I appreciate it. So how do you process as a kid?
Yeah.
How are they taught to process? So I know, I mean, I get the basic thing, but you're talking about something a little bit deeper here. Wow, we've got half a dozen questions already. So what does that look like? That's what I was trying to understand. Remember that rule?
Yeah. So what
On the
happens in childhood? So my parents had traumatic childhoods that they had not healed from. So my mom was quite anxious and an alcoholic, and my dad had a lot of anxiety and depression too, and he was a workaholic. So that's how they avoided themselves. So in order to be able to teach someone how to process your emotions, you have to be able to do it yourself. We can only meet others as deeply as we've met ourselves. And my parents had only met themselves at a surface level and rejected the rest. And so that's what I did. And my healing journey is how I learned to unwind those wounds over the past 10 years.
Wow. So, like you said, you only know what you know.
Right.
You know, we get into this topic a lot. Obviously, it's the center. What you're at right now is the center of everything else that you're about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you're there, and that healing from within is the criticality of being able to move forward about anything. We talk about everybody actually in the world leads a completely different life through the world. Their world is completely different than the person next to them. Why? Because you're looking at it through your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And what you perceive, what you perceive that to be might be perceived differently. Now the world's a little different. And that's every day all throughout your life. So, building from within, that kind of brings a structure, a base, right?
Yeah. Well, so how are our realities created? So I'm a mother first and foremost. I have 3 grown kids, like, let's be real. And
Boy, girls, what do you got?
A boy and 2 girls. My son's an Eagle Scout and a 2nd degree black belt. And my daughters are both artists. My old daughter is a photographer and makes jewelry. And my younger daughter is a florist. And so they're doing weddings together now because they're all adults.
And creative. Creative.
So
wow. Very, very impressed. I only ask that now because I raised all boys. I raised 5 boys. And basically, as long as I could develop becoming a carpenter, so I could patch up holes, butts going through the wall, it was a pretty easy and fun life. Girls, they are now having my granddaughters. And oh my God, what a difference. See that right there? Every day, one of them is moving the other around to be tied around me tied around their pinky.
Yeah.
And it's, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yes,
I always heard about girls.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's different. I mean, raising boys and girls we're different. We're different. And I have a boy, and then I have 2 girls. I have them all within 4 years. Because
and the boy's the youngest, right?
He's the oldest. A boy.
Oh.
And then my girls are only a year and a half apart, but the oldest to youngest they're 4 years apart. So I went for it, like,
wow.
But
good for
yeah,
you. Good for you. Okay. So mom, obviously, and having both, like I only had half a kid growing up, and basically I grew up with my 2 oldest boys anyway. We did video games. So it was a fun time. It was great. The boys are great and all that. But you had boys and girls, which you said are 2 totally different and in the same household. And the reason I ask who's the oldest, because a boys with his sisters, back and forth, their relationship is different if the girls are older than if the boys are over. I think it's actually better for you, especially if the girls are older, because they kind of take on that role. If the boys are older, there's kind of a different
Well, the
energy, right?
boys, a protective energy. He was
Exactly.
always very protective of his sisters, and he was a black belt like before he even hit high
Oh,
school.
jeez. Wow.
So, and his dad's Israeli. My kids are half Israeli. I met my
Okay.
ex-husband traveling.
Then that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
like let's go, and we need, we go back and forth to Israel, and so protection, military, very important.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit. Wow. Okay, so you remember that boomerang you were talking about back in the green room? There it is.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level. So before we, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
what's happening, man? I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, and it seems like it's slowing down, and then it, but how's your family? How's your husband? How's your kids? You're going back and forth, so you're living it also, not just watching it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been divorced 20 years, so I haven't been to Israel in 20 years, but
Okay, sorry. I went down the road there.
No, that's an excellent question that I have an important answer to. So that I started to cry because you asked about my ex-husband and his reality right now when it comes to Israel and my
Is
kids.
he there?
No, he's here. We're in California. So
what part?
The pro-Palestine bullshit is fucking on high. So now I'm about to go off. So this is his reality, right? On October 7th, his niece was at the music festival, and about 10 of her friends were killed right in front of her, and she had to go to their funerals over the next week because in Jewish tradition, you bury right away. That's thing one he has to deal with.
Before sundown.
He has to deal with is his youngest daughter, who's indoctrinated because of childhood trauma, and she's just resonating with all these hurt people because she's hurt. The universe is a mirror. Is now arguing with him about Palestine and pro-Iran. So this man who has 3 kids, his own traumatic childhoods, trying to heal, is getting it from every friggin' angle. And and I have connections into Iran too. Like my stepfather was the personal doctor to the sister of the Shah of Iran. And I met the
You
Shah.
mean the Shah back in the day? Oh my God.
I'm in Ventura, California. They located in Montecito, California. So right by me, and I went to UC Santa Barbara. He met my mom in Santa Barbara when I was, they were 50 or almost, I forget. I was, early 20s, and I'm 55 now. He's since passed, and so has she. But, it's gnarly over there. And you have all these people, the victim. Well, why are they resonating with the victim? Because they haven't healed their own wounds. And so, yeah.
Well, I think yes, absolutely. But just to add to that, maybe a touch, maybe a little color between the layers here. And do you mind if we stay on this around your subject, but on this, because
it's important.
Producer Barbie has been after me because we're doing a lot of subjects, and right now the world's on not on fire, but it's on. It's at a key moment. We're at a precipice, right?
Yeah.
And she said you need to do some more political things, and when you and your family, your blood, your personal is really in a unique place because you're from the region and on different areas of that region. And here's the worst thing: the people of everything, like normal, are good and want to be able to be that middle class of that country and grow and aspire to whatever. And their governments have not a shit care about them in the world, except for their political strides and so forth. So here we are again. We're in another part of the world. Here's Ventura, California. I'm from Ladera Ranch. Well, I went to Huntington Beach High School, and I'm back and forth, and producer Barbie lives out there now. Her 2 grandchildren, second one's being born right now in Temecula, down that area.
Yeah.
So that whole place is, and it's a shame because it's a beautiful state. It's got a vibe. We always talk about being grounded. And I noticed something the other day. Everybody out here, whether it's warm or not, you're wearing shoes typically and all that. The best you're going to get at in California is flip-flops. Yeah. Otherwise, people's feet are on the freaking ground all the time. And what's that vibe, right? I know it's not real, but it's
healthy.
It's a picture. It's a picture. It's very healthy.
Grounding. Yeah, it's very healthy. to walk
And
around.
you got none of that out there right now, and it's all this because of political reasons. And like you said, the children of today are hurting and searching for something. I grew up. I'm older than you. I'm the youngerish area of the baby boomers. So I remember Vietnam. My dad did 3 tours there. My uncle did 2 tours there.
Yeah.
So the country at that time was fighting for something. But you know what they were fighting for? They were fighting for themselves.
Yeah.
That we don't agree with this. Government's not doing the right thing. We want you to know that your people, and it got ugly and stupid at times, which is not the right thing, but that was traumatic. But now you got something bizarre happening. You have American citizens actually hating what their country is about, and then they're screaming about somebody who's taking advantage. History, known fact, brutal regime, all sorts of stuff, people living under tyranny, and then this stuff starts and goes. And the problem is, it's just a new flavor. You're caught up, and sorry, I'm taking over your thing here. Real quick, you're caught up in a very bizarre. Is there a lot of people? I mean, that's a bizarre position to be in right now. America, you got America, you got all 3. You got the trifecta there. What the hell are you doing?
And I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. I speak Chinese.
I saw that.
So I've lived in China, South Korea.
Who are you?
Tibet.
Who are you? Hold on. In Tibet? In Tibet?
We met in Tibet. We had our first. Oh, I have the best. Oh my God, my best travel.
Wait, do you hold on? Do you have a hard stop at all? Because
no, I don't.
Okay, I've got a little bit of one, but I'm having a feeling we haven't even started the questions yet. It's going to sneak over a little over an hour, and I've got to keep it kind of close. But yeah, Tibet. Tell me what.
It's so fun. Okay, it's like I love irreverent humor. It's my favorite. So okay.
I can tell.
Okay, so there's a Buddhist monastery at Mount Everest base camp at 17,500 feet. So I was in 1993, I was in Tibet, and in order to get around Tibet, if you want to go outside of Lhasa, you have to rent a Land Cruiser. So I rented a Land Cruiser with 4 Israelis, a German guy, okay? I can't make this shit up, right? And me, and I'm the only one that spoke Chinese, and everyone got stomach issues in Tibet. And so everybody's loving me, Carrie. I don't boiled potatoes. I'm like, I can order that. Like, we love you. Okay. So I took care of all the guys, and I translated everybody, and I was protected because I had 4 Israelis, right?
No doubt, man.
Yeah. Okay. So we pull up to the Buddhist monastery, right? And a monk comes out and he says, "We have wood." And we thought, 70,500 feet. How do you have wood? Like, we're way above the tree line. And how do you have the lung capacity to bring the wood up here, even if you could find it? Like, what? So, but in Tibet, they use yak dung as fuel. They pick up the wet dung, slap it on the side of the house. When it dries, it falls off, and then that's their fuel. So that's what we thought they were talking about. So Mark, the German guy, and me, who had lived in America, his English was really good. So we go back and see, what they're calling wood, right? And so the guy opens the door, and the monk says wood, and then Mark shakes his head. He's like, "No shit." And the monk shakes his head, "Wood," and Mark says, "No shit." And I'm laughing my ass off, like, no way. And I'm 23, he's 22, we're young, we give a fuck. And the monk starts saying shit, right? He's calling it shit. So you can imagine the next group of travelers that come up, and like the most mystical, spiritual experience, the monk comes out and says, "We have shit."
You have damaged that monk forever, for all of eternity, and monks around him.
A healer after that. I can't be.
Okay, fair. That's fair. That's
the thing, but that's balanced. That's like showing that there's a book. We all poop. We all and we had that problem. Like, it was so dark. One of the guys went to go to the bathroom and started peeing on a guy who was squatting to poop because it was so dark. and he's Tibetan. Like, okay, like, I mean, I could have story after story, but yeah.
And they can squat really low over there too.
Yeah,
And you
their
see
hips
the
are
toilets
really
just
flexible.
the holes. They're just holes in the ground. I've been over there. I've been all over China
that's
and
a
all
whole
that.
other, like on the train, there's just a hole.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah, it's funny when you go around the world how different things are.
Mhm.
In a lot of places, there's similarities, of course, not exactly anything, but similarities. But then there's some things that are really different, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
And if you're curious, you pick up on that. Let me just. I think we're getting a touch behind here.
Okay.
I do want to circle back to those subjects though and bring those back in because especially I mean, we kind of went off and made it light and fun and airy, but there is at some point I want to hear a couple of minutes of what you think, in your opinion, is and isn't happening right now. Is that too hard? Is that too much or no?
Well, isn't it happening in terms of
Hey, look we're not there yet, but we're sneaking up on it, and there's the whole damaging of all the nuclear thing, and all of that, and then the fight back and forth, between the, is it? Are you feeling good about your family out there and the direction we're going?
Yes, my whole family in Israel, they're protected. They're not in any danger zones, and like he has a brother out there who's with his sister and his mom, his dad has since passed, and he has nieces, and so everyone is in my family is safe out there. But yeah, I think everyone's healthy boundaries is what we friggin' need, and this is what Trump is doing is tariff healthy boundary. Sure, he went extreme, but to bring balance back, if you're this out of balance, sometimes you gotta, before you bring the balance, you gotta go the other extreme. That's how it works. So
how long has this been going on?
Bring me some more healthy boundaries in the Middle East and let's go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So what your inner heroine, okay? Great question here, Gerard. You wrote this book and it's just been recent, right? I mean, I don't know how long ago you put that update, but it's been fairly recent. I'm going through that process now. So that also was very cool to listen about. So what inspired you to write it? There's a number of things about your book here. So let's bounce back and forth where we can stay with these folks and then get into these topics back and forth. I'm so glad to hear your family's safe. And I'm really sorry for fucking weird generation right now. Kids.
We're a whole family. We're a collective of souls working through our crap like any other family.
100%.
That's the way I see it. So, so what inspired me to start writing my inner heroine? During like the last 5 years, I was always like called to speak and speak and speak. And then when the book started coming out of me, I saw how powerful that was. Like I had 2 rules when I was writing. I get 3 rules. I can let it out however I want, but final version, I will not. Let it out. These men were challenging and I had crap to work through. Okay. Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, 2 Fire Academy instructors, FBI agent, smart, challenging men. Okay. But I needed that. Okay. So
you had testosterone all around you.
All over 6 feet tall. I never went on a date with any of them. Got a hold of their hearts. That was the only way I could make a difference with them. Okay. But I'll get into that. So anyway.
Yep.
1, I could let it out. 2, the final version, I will not disparage any of these men, and I will not speak for any of these men. I can only speak to myself. So I had to own my own crap. So I highly recommend writing, and I highly recommend those 3 rules because you got to get it out, and then you kind of rework it, right? And if you're going to
therapy,
it's total therapy. I mean, so in my story, the arc is 6 years ago, my youngest daughter, who has an eating disorder, blamed me for her eating disorder. And when I went home, my brain told me that I'm better off, my kids would be better off with a dead mother than a live one. So I attempted suicide. And I went up, I took all the medications that I had.
That's very, and mental health. I'm with you. If producer Barbie wasn't in my life at that time, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But unusual statistically, right? For women or no? Or is that not true?
No, men are commit suicide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Also, men use more force than women. Like I use medications. I had trazodone, Klonopin, Soma, Ambien. I don't know how I lived. I took so much.
I bet you felt really good. Thank God you didn't die, but you were just like,
no, I went upstairs. I took it and went upstairs and just fell asleep. I was just done. And
that was it.
had problems sleeping. I just let go. I'm like, F life. I was 48. I was just fucking done.
Oh, wow. So what was that? 7 years ago?
Six. No, it was 2019. So it's 2020.
You're 55. 6
So
years
I was almost 49 because it was April of 2019.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so so that was like the catalyst. And then after that, I was just like on a mission to find self-belief. And it even happened in the psych ward that I had opportunities to use my psychic gifts. So there was a young woman so this is how our souls plan our lives based on our wounds. So let me get into like some of this shamanic, helpful stuff.
We're peeling this baby open. We're peeling this baby open, man. All right, keep going. Keep going. This is getting color in between the layers.
This is the fun stuff. And I have a very much an engineering left brain. Like all the men in my family are engineers and a highly intuitive right brain. So I got to know how it works. So I got to be able to talk. If I know how it works, I got to be able to talk about how it works. So I use the laws of physics. And there's so many physicists have done research on this. They've proven we all have energy bodies or souls. And all of our souls communicate through our heart space, which is what shamans have always been saying. And so because it's an energy body, it plans our life based on the laws of physics. Okay. So now I'll get back to the soul thing in a second, but I got to show you this for a second, the laws of physics experiment. So
I'm gonna look down here because I'm looking at you, so it looks like I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at you now. Because I want to see this. So sorry, guys.
You're totally fine. So there's two identical balls, equal weight, equal size, on two identical tracks, the same distance. One track is slightly downhill and one track has hills and valleys. So technically the distance traveled on the hills and valleys track is longer. Which one reaches the finish line first?
Well, if you're asking me this question, I'm going to take the obvious setup and say the hill, because you get momentum to go over, right?
Yes.
But the other one's just a real. I use that. I love that. That's awesome because you don't live in a straight line. Because if you do, you're never going to fail. That's why you do it. But you're never going to grow. You're doing the same thing over. You got to fail, and that's those hills, huh? And then you get momentum from them, and then you get momentum from that. I talk it a path, right?
Yeah.
And you're just lighting the lights along the path, and you need professional people to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exactly.
You need help.
Yeah, well, we all need to learn to surf the waves of life. My parents
say that again. Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
We all need to learn to surf the waves of life. And
back to my senior class.
And if you're a good surfer, you're connected to yourself. You know how to go up. You know how to go down. You know how to fall. Right? But if your parents don't teach you how to fall, which is that valley, you don't know how to climb back up. And so my parents, well, yes, very successful, but a lot of trauma, unresolved trauma, they couldn't teach me how to go into the valley of darkness, that emotional pain, and turn that emotional wound into wisdom and then get back up to the next mountaintop. Like if you want to climb Mount Everest, you got to do some serious work in that valley of darkness to get up there. Like I didn't get to Tibet because I was lazy in college. I have 2 degrees, religious studies, Chinese. I worked the whole time at UCSB, studied abroad in China in 92, which is like right after Tiananmen, like, gnarly time to be in China.
Very much.
I've Swiss German, I work hard. I had a job.
Wait. You're drawn to funky energy, aren't you?
Oh, well,
you're drawn to Tiananmen. You're drawn to the what's happening here now in the Middle East. Are you drawn to this energy, or what's going on? Are you just going to heal it?
I'm a healer. Why do you think I attracted Justin and Andrew into my life? Okay, so I'll get that in a second. But let me get back to this. Our souls plan our lives based on the laws of physics, right? So we're here to learn to surf the way the hills and valleys, learn how to go down into your emotional pain, unearth more self-belief, more self-confidence, more self-love, turn that wound into wisdom, become a more wise soul, have more influence over all other souls. Like there's something called morphic resonance. When a soul downloads knowledge or wisdom that's universal, then we just automatically share it with the other souls. I don't decide what's wise. I just turn my wound into wisdom and align with that. Like in the book Morphic Resonance, there's a story about how men were trying to run the mile in less than 4 minutes. That's hard. They worked for a long
I remember that.
And then one guy did it. And then the next year, 500 guys did it, because it's in our collective consciousness. So, so let's get to, I'm a proponent of monogamy. Why did I download monogamy as the path to enlightenment while meditating the same morning that Fresh and Fit was demonetized on YouTube in 2023? Because this is the way it works based on the laws of physics. Monogamy is higher vibrating than polygamy. It just is. You're more in alignment with yourself. It's you and one other person. You can go transition your wounds to wisdom. It's not like, oh, is it me or is it that person? 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 And a man in the center of women, that's a man and his feminine. I'm sorry. The woman is in the center and the man provides and protects out here. That is the way of things. Like there's a way of things. And this whole one man, multiple women, is just not it. Like a healthy nuclear family is the bedrock of a stable society. How does one man with multiple women and kids with multiple women in different locations create a healthy nuclear family? It just friggin' doesn't. So I'm a mother, like I said, a mother. So why would I get so like, why did I write this book? Like, where did I find the strength? I'm a mother who's fucking had it with the bullshit. With the feminism, with the sexual promiscuity, what it did to my daughters, what like the eating disorders, she's not good enough, teaching women that they're going to be fulfilled by going to college, getting a career, and maybe having kids in their 30s. Shut the fuck up. Our hormones are out of balance because we're teaching women to be men. And when women are men, then that actually pushes men into their feminine. And I'm just done. Like it used to be, if the mom has to come out of the house to handle some shit, back the fuck up. And this is what that is. With me, Mama Bear is out standing up to Red Pill, and not because I hate those guys. I love those guys. Like those are my perfect counterbalance. But they have challenges and I have challenges, and so we got to come together. And I'm going to quote Carl Jung here, who is all throughout my book. He said, "Wholeness is not created by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by merging the contraries." Masculine and feminine. We're here to work together. We're here to complement each other. We're here to be a healthy feminine woman. But what is that? Most women these days can't even answer that question. They'll tell you all day long what a masculine man should do, but a healthy feminine woman, I just need to be beautiful. I'm just gonna sit here. Like, so part of the purpose of my book, because I didn't go on a date with any of these guys, because in terms of like red pill, this kind of women are useful for sex. I showed all the ways I'm useful and didn't give them sex. So that's
believe it or not, what you just described is actually, there's more and more of this coming out, but men actually desire that more than, we have a physical, there's a physical, and it feels really good, but men really desire that attention, not attention, but appreciation, and that vibe back and forth. That's actually what they're struggling for more so. But you brought up polygamy, when you rolled that in, and it made me think, what does that say about our society? And this show's gone on for quite a while, and I think there's probably some sort of offshoot kind of things, and it's not really an interesting show. But what is it say about our society? Not that that they are doing that show, that polygamy supposedly exists, but that it's still, that it's of interest, that's interesting to our society. And what do you think's behind all this? Because there seems to be a purposeful, in the 50s, that's probably the height of the quote unquote nuclear family. Man goes out and does what he did in the villages 1,000 years ago and went hunting, and women raised the village and supported and it was that, like you said, the natural way of things, just animal kingdom, blah.
Yeah.
So is there, I mean, you see it all over the news. You just said it. People can't say what a woman is. What?
Right.
I mean, that's bizarre, but it's, people are afraid to talk against it because they'll be finished, or what's the word? Where you're ghosted, canceled.
Like Andrew was, okay. So like, why was Andrew canceled on social media? Like, okay, this is like a huge question, but I'll try to get at it from like different angles. Okay. So first I'm going to answer the question, how did we get here in terms of, that women are willing to share men? Okay. So historically, we can go back and trace DNA. What percentage of women were procreating? What percentage of men were procreating? So 90% of women were procreating. 40% of men were procreating. Why? We had a lot of wars. Now women say, well, men did that. Oh, okay, sure. The men fought in the war, but where's the woman's job of taking care of the man's heart so he's balanced, doesn't get all upset, and maybe start a war? Like, so let's call the women out for women's work. And there's a Cherokee proverb that's like, it's the dedication of my book. It says, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source. Source being woman is the feminine energy is source energy, is creation energy. Men are once removed, masculinity. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. Hence, source is in the center, and the protection, the provisioning, going, around. So if we that is the woman's role. And women, we're still figuring ourselves out. People, what is a woman? And a lot of people can't even say that. Like, we're still at the basics. Like, how much universal wisdom and universal knowledge have we actually downloaded?
We weren't
10%. Like, we're still beginning. We're still learning. We're still souls learning what it is to have a human experience. Like, most people don't know that their emotions are about themselves. When you see selfishness in someone else, that's the that's your soul showing you the selfishness inside of you. The reason you're seeing it and paying attention to it is to bring attention to the selfishness in yourself. Hence, the universe is a mirror. We have mirror neurons. That is how we learn. We learn by mirroring other people, like our parents. So I learned how not to process my emotions by mirroring them, right? Learned how to be super anxious and all the problems. We learn to see ourselves. So, okay, so that is why we're here. So what happens? So when one man's with multiple women, that is a lot of codependencies, a lot of external validation. That is not mentally healthy. That a man, oh, well, I have all these women, that shows that I'm a man. Why does having a lot of women that you can't take care of one-on-one, that you can't do the emotional work with one-on-one? Why? That's just, it's external validation. Like women who put on tons of makeup and all the sexy clothes, external validation. We all do that when we're insecure, when we don't have a secure attachment to self. And so these days,
when do you think all that started? Like, I think we were talking about this, the nuclear family.
As a human population, we've never been there, that we actually understand ourselves well.
True.
That we're souls having a human experience, and how does this work? But this is this exciting. Why? Because we didn't have all the science behind it. And why? But why is it happening now? Okay, this is again energy work. So in 2012, remember that was like the end of a time. The Mayan time cycle ended in 2012. So what is this time cycle? Now is the time for self-healing. That's why all the medicine journeys exploded after 2012. All the self-help, all the psychology, all the therapy, because it's in the end, it's the collective, the soul's collective plan to heal.
That's fascinating.
Now. And so one thing that drives the patriarchy so strongly is sexual assault. So let me share one way that Andrew Tate and my soul are working together. So you guys haven't read the book, but in the book, I had a personal relationship. I started a personal relationship with Justin Waller we were DMing on Instagram 2 months before Andrew's takedown started. And so it's like my soul has a plan, and so then I helped them both with my shamanic gifts, but then I was well positioned to help Andrew in solitary confinement with my shamanic gifts to help him self-reflect. And, that was our soul's plan together. One other plan that Andrew Tate's soul and my soul have is to bring awareness around this piece of wisdom, which is triggers are our healing friend and not our healing foe. And like Andrew Tate triggers, the fuck out of women and men, and like the fear of men, the fear of sexual assault, but he's helping people. They all think he's the problem because he's triggering their wound, but he is showing them their wound. So he triggers
and he's strong. He's strong in his message.
One-time UFC world champion.
Yeah, but him being strong at that message is the only because when you're on that front edge, you're talking about healing. That was fascinating because I feel, as a matter of fact, we talk about that. It feels like things are changing. But back to him, he's got a bold, aggressive, and because those people, and he was kind of the leading edge of all that. What you're talking about now, he's been around for a little while with sunglasses and he's taking arrows. If you're the first one out of the gate, you're leading and you're taking all the freaking arrows. That ability has not hurt. His approach was able to take that without losing that energy. You know what I mean? It actually fueled more. So that was awesome. He is awesome.
He's
aggressive as hell, but he's awesome.
Man. Like every man, he's imperfect. And don't let me forget, I have to bring up the Winston Churchill quote. Okay. In a second.
Oh,
but
I like Winston.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. So, okay. So anyway, so what's Andrew triggers the wound to the surface. And then my book shows women and then men too, because I had a fear of men and I had a fear of being sexually assaulted. And that's one of the reasons I attracted Andrew into my life. And so my book shows people how to do it. I mean, I had a wound that I'm replaceable. So the way my soul figured out to show me that wound so I can turn it into wisdom and experience enlightenment, which I did like several times last year, is to bring men into my life who have multiple women to mirror back to me, Carrie, why do you think you're replaceable? Like, seriously, no one's replaceable, but like, I'm replaceable. Like, I can heal at Andrew Tate while sitting on my couch. That's not replaceable. That is not friggin', replaceable at all. No. But, so this is how our souls work. All of our souls are working together to make progress. Like we saw, like Project 2025, like people are done with the woke. They're done with the crap, right? They're done with the bullshit. Like we have empathy, but you've just taken it way too far with trans kids. Like if you want to, like, what is Armageddon? Like you got a pissed off mom? Armageddon. I mean, trans kids is Armageddon. If that's not, I don't know what the fuck else would be. Is we're cutting off genitals.
I heard a mom the other day, and this was out there. So I think it was actually said a little bit ago, but she was serious and said somebody had asked her, when did you know that she needed to be trans? That was coming on. Well, she's been telling us since she was 4 months old. I mean, that's an extreme of what you just said. And you're right. People are tired of the bullshit. How long is the healing? So the what we just came out of is the 1,000-year calendar, right? The Mayan is 1,000.
I don't know.
What's this? Or do you know?
That's not my soul. Like my soul is focused on teaching people how to turn their wounds into wisdom so they can learn that enlightenment is an emotion and is part of our natural emotional range. Like that's another huge message that I'm bringing forward that came out of my enlightenment journey is that, and I studied Buddhism. I never learned in Buddhism or I lived in Buddhist monasteries that enlightenment's an emotion. It's all men. So that makes sense. And they're not going to talk about it's an emotion, but it's an expression of the soul. And now that we can measure, how our souls express themselves, our souls express through emotion. Shame is 20 hertz. Love is 200 hertz. Enlightenment is 700 to 1,000 hertz. Like the first time I experienced enlightenment a year ago, it lasted 3 days because women experience their emotions longer than men, right? Because we're different.
Absolutely.
We're the emotional center. We got to make all these connections, figure it out, and then explain it to everybody else. So I lost 12 pounds in 3 days, like sitting in my chair going, because my body was expending so much energy just to vibrate that high. But that's why when you learn to surf the waves of life, you start on the smaller waves. You don't start on a 70-foot enlightenment wave. No, you got to learn to go into the darkness a little, then download some wisdom and darkness and wisdom. But, and the more wisdom that you download into your soul by learning how to go into the darkness to find more self-belief, more self-confidence, the more influential you are over the collective. Like Carl Jung has said, one does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, which is the slightly downhill track, the two-ball experiment, but by making the darkness conscious, going into the valley, the darkness, making it conscious, bringing it up on the hill. So
Okay.
two-ball experiment, here's the Winston Churchill quote. Winston Churchill said, "It is often said that famous men are the product of an unhappy childhood." And that's my quote to the final thoughts in my book. I'm like, there's the two-ball experiment right there, right? Like people are pointing to the same phenomenon. And that's like my book brings it all together. Shamanism and psychology, laws of physics and shamanism, laws of physics and healing. And Red Pill Shaman, I named myself that because
Hold on. Before you go there, because I absolutely no. The only reason I say that is because I've run through a couple of other questions because we've kind of run through those, but I want to go back and say, Gerard, thank you very much for this. That was an awesome question. And Richard, so powerful. How did you find the strength after the darkest moments? And we were talking about that and those journeys you were on. Did you want to fill in anything here with Richard? That's what he's talking about there.
The fact that my 18-year-old daughter was put in a position to save my life showed me that I'm not being
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's tough, man. Yeah. Thank you very much for your comment there, our question. Todd Martin, can you explain how physics connects to emotional healing? We're just getting into these frequencies and you're talking about something that is newer to me, in that you're talking about these energies, kilowatts and so forth, the heart and the gut, and the brain. But I've always, when talking in this arena, this area right here, I like to use the example of what I heard, where if you hooked up one human brain, my human brain, which is nothing exceptional, but it has enough power, energy. Now you're adding more, but for a week, for a small town, to power a small town for a week, that's how much energy, that's how much power. And now you're and somebody coming on this afternoon is talking about the three, the brain, the heart, and the gut. There's so much going this direction because your brain, your intelligence has three brains, right?
Yeah.
They all work in unison. That's just what you're saying right there, right?
Yeah, well, our hearts, the electromagnetic field around our hearts is 5,000 times stronger than the brain. So the neurons in the heart.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The heart sends far more messages to the brain than the other way around. And it's, heart and soul. So our
that makes sense.
Communicates through our nervous system, our emotions through the heart, and controls the brain and the gut. So our heart is in charge, like Rumi and the mysticist Rumi, follow your heart, it knows the way, because your soul has a plan. Our souls, our energy bodies, plan our lives based on the laws of physics, the hills and valleys. And the hills and valleys can one way to represent how to expand your emotional range. And if you want to become more influential over the collective, then you have to open yourself up to downloading wisdom. But that wisdom is predetermined. Like 1 + 1 will always equal 2. 1 + 1 will never equal 3. There's a way of things. So we kind of got,
hold on right there. Wait a second. Yeah. I heard the other day from somebody speaking to the Senate from the current educational system that said 1 + 1 may actually equal 4 if they feel that it does. Yeah. That's not true.
But this is the BS. This is why we got to be like when Trump came in, there are men and there are women. Done. We're done. Woo! We're done with it, enough already, because they're all rabbit holes. And we spend so much time going down these. Okay, so this is what I realized. This is the rabbit hole. So when we have an idea like trans kids and then we want to see if it works, that's rabbit hole. That is not progress. What is progress is opening our hearts, downloading more wisdom and more knowledge, and aligning with that. Like the table of elements. We didn't create the table of elements, right? All the chemicals. We observed it in nature. That is universal knowledge. Stephen Hawking, he would just, all of a sudden, a formula would appear in his head. That's a download. and then he implement it. So we just have to realize how reality works, but we're only now at the stage where we have all of the knowledge
on the precipice.
both sides, like the West. This is the West meeting the East, right? The science and the mysticism coming together, the merging of the contraries to bring wholeness.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hey, how long have you been speaking? You speak really well. Your description is very very. Say that again. What did you just say?
I worked very hard. Like I've been taught. Like these are really smart men, and I talk to their souls at home. So they're really
what
smart.
What was it like working with a former FBI agent? Mix that into what you're talking about.
Okay, so this is the thing. The FBI agent, he's my guy from my childhood. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. So what happened is, he's ASB president, super good looking, varsity letterman, like dream guy, like of 2,000 kids. But when I got to high school, I wouldn't even let him talk to me. And we might have been at elementary school together, but I don't remember because my childhood was so traumatic. So then I left and he went on his way. And I didn't think about him until the last couple of years when I found my high school yearbook. I'm like, oh, he used to stare at me. Maybe that's why Justin and then these fire academy instructors, maybe that's why these guys that I'm not used to are now, okay, this is me, right? So in the fall, after I published my first edition of the book, I didn't know it was coming. My intuition said, oh, reach out to who I called Jared in the book. I didn't know where he worked, didn't know he was an FBI agent, didn't know anything. And I found him on Facebook, saw where he worked, didn't recognize the name of the company, even though it's a famous company. And then I just reached out to him, and then his soul opened to me. So I went about my business, So I wasn't knowingly working with an FBI agent, but he got his current job that works with the internet, and the FBI definitely does internet censorship, like what happened to Andrew 1 month before I reached out to Justin.
Wow.
When I was in China and Korea, he was going to school in Hawaii. He has a degree, he has a military degree.
Wow.
He has an MBA. I have a master's degree, and he has a boy and 2 girls just like me. And the day that my intuition guided me to reach out to him, I was also guided to do several posts on my Red Pill Shaman Instagram account, is the feminine calling inner masculine. So is his
roll
soul-
back over that. Roll as you're coming out of that, keep going with is his soul.
Yeah.
I've tried to time that better. I'm sorry. That was really
That's okay.
bad.
No.
But Sonnet also wants to know how you define a red pill shaman, and you're in this space right now.
Yeah,
so blend that together if you could, please.
Yeah. So the question I asked myself is, I helped Andrew Tate emotionally. The man does the protecting. Like I connected Andrew to his soul. That's my highest purpose. Man's highest purpose is the protecting. Okay. So were we both on our highest purposes working together to show us how connected we are? So those are questions I asked myself. Like I haven't talked to him yet. So I don't know. But how do I define Red Pill Shaman? Well, Red Pill has 2 different meanings. I did Red Pill because I was, with Andrew Tate and Justin Waller and, their Red Pill. And then I'm a shaman. And, Myron Gaines always says, they don't do spirituality, but that's a gap for them. So why was I able to come in and be more energetically influential? Because I'm a spiritual being. Them not acknowledging we're all souls having a human existence means that they're missing a whole gap of knowledge and wisdom that they could be leaning on, making themselves better. So, but also Red Pill it describes how reality is created. And, in the movie The Matrix, Neo is a man.
I was wondering if there was going to be a connection. Freaking awesome movie.
But how do you get out of the Matrix? What is the Matrix? Lack of a secure attachment to self, an anxious attachment style, so you don't have self-belief, or an avoidant attachment style, so you have self-belief. And that's women's work. Yeah. So love the Matrix, super helpful. I reference it in the book a few times, but getting out of the Matrix is women's work. And if women don't know what their job is, no wonder we're all in the Matrix. This is what I'm saying. We're all at the beginning because we don't know our jobs yet. Yes, men have in a lot of ways figured it out. And women, yes, we had all the kids and the emotional work, but then we lost it because we prioritized money the Industrial Revolution over everything else. We took the father out of the home. They became alcoholics, no emotional support. Then the woman went in her masculine running things. Then she got the vote. Then we're like, fuck, man, all the sexual abuse from all the alcoholism. So if Andrew Tate and I can come together and help address sexual assault,
Boom.
then who can't? You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's powerful, man.
Yes.
Now on that same vein, you're welcome. On that same vein, what's the most important? So I think that you said feminism much early in when we started to talk, and that was kind of, in my opinion, kind of a downfall. It has the right thing, because women need to be independent and strong. Fathers are the most important things for daughters. Okay, they're not. Don't throw any energy at me.
No. I know what you're saying. Very important.
That's the first man that is teaching her how to be treated.
Yeah.
Now, back to the childhood. Boom, right? Here it is. And none of that's going on. And then you follow that up into women's lib, burning bras and doing all that, where we, for all the things that society caused it to be there. And then it's continued. Now, in this time of healing, interesting enough, women's lib is really, they're the ones supporting trans and trans athletes and stuff. And it's kind of bizarre. They're not supporting it. They're not saying anything about it, because Section 9 is now all different. Well, it's going to be changed
Title
back.
9,
Section 9, totally different thing.
So
go ahead.
I experienced enlightenment several times, and it was all around. So the first time I experienced it, I heard, it was the second morning, and I heard enlightenment, like an alarm in my head. I'm like, okay, I guess that's where I'm at, And so I asked the universe, what do I need to heal? And through a series of questions, it was like, okay, I'm like, well, the family has problems. Okay, what about relationships? And I'm like, just take me back to the beginning. There was God, and then what happened? Like, we're so fucked up. Like, let's just let's just erase everything and start over, because I just can't. This is so like, I want to be a mom and stay home with my kids and love my kids. I don't want to be in a corporate office all day long. Like, enough. But what it was shown to me is that, okay, well, God creates and orchestrates. I'm like, well, hang on a second. We don't have a pronoun like that is it's non-binary. That's not degrading. We would see it as degrading to call God it, right? I'm like, well, okay, so then we're not giving credit to what feminine creates. And how feminine, we create human life. We can see we're 20 years from population collapse. Trans kids cutting off their genitals, they'll never create more human life. That's not celebrating femininity. Also, femininity fuels masculinity. Like, if I'm out in public, all like, dressed provocatively, acting all masculine, cursing, I'm not likely to get the door open for me or get my bags carried. But if I go out there, dress appropriately, beautifully, I'm compassionate, I'm kind, I'm feminine, then I'm more likely to pull the masculinity out. But we've been so busy repressing femininity to make women like men, to make more workers. Like the birth control pill makes women more masculine and men more feminine. When we repress women's ovulation, that's one of the main drivers of male testosterone. When women ovulate, men build testosterone. That makes sense. But if we're going to take away the ovulation, then we're taking away the testosterone. We're just destroying the whole beautiful dynamic between men and women, because we don't value and appreciate our differences.
What are you doing? What's that?
I could go off all day.
You just choked me up there. Here you go, talking about actual science again. It's kind of, what are you thinking about there? So how did the chat? I saw this in some of your information, but now Bradley, dang, I'm gonna have to get off here. So, but Bradley asked a good question. How did
the first one, Tim? It was 2.5 years. And I would say that growth of what I was able to see inside myself. And I found the two big healing methodologies during those 2.5 years. One I call appreciate, learn, forgive. And one I call love hierarchy. And appreciate, learn, forgive is first you start with appreciation or gratitude so that you can heal. Your body can only heal when your heart is open. If you're in fight or flight, you're not healing, right? So find gratitude for the challenges in your life. Find gratitude for those valleys, because that's when you're going to pull more self-belief and more self-confidence. Like when I was in the psych ward, pulled a ton of self-belief and self-confidence around my psychic gifts. I channeled a message for an 18-year-old girl with an eating disorder whose mom passed away when she was 11, and I helped them heal. And she woke up the next morning and she ate her whole breakfast, no problem. She hadn't done that in 7 years. So this is the power of self-belief. When we have self-belief, then we bring the best out of ourselves to share with ourselves, our family, and our loved ones. So appreciate your challenges, then learn to self-reflect. Ask yourself why events happened and not if they were necessary, because your soul is planning everything. If you ask if, you're not trusting yourself. That's self-judgment. Why did I need to attempt suicide? Why did I need so many players in my life? Why Jack, the second fire academy instructor, married, fire captain, 6'7", guy. I'm like, and I had been laid off. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Like he oversees the wildland cadet program. I can heal the firefighters. Like I'm laid off. Like, let's go. Fucking yeah. But
you're fired up.
Healed from my marriage, and I hadn't like healed that I wasn't healthy in my femininity, and his soul showed me that I had the wound that I'm replaceable. So I wasn't there yet. So and then once you self-reflect, and then forgiveness, you just let go after that. Then the love hierarchy is how to appropriately put self-love in your life. So a lot of women do this. I know someone asked about how can women love themselves more. I think the love hierarchy is perfect for the women. Is that when we people please, we put everybody else before ourselves, we're acting from a wound, and wounds are inverted wisdom. So I had a wound. I used to fear all men. What is wisdom? Men protect me. In general, sure, there's some, but men protect me. So when we invert the love hierarchy, we start with self-love. And that's important because we need a healthy cup of love to pour on our loved ones, on the community. Like the guy that goes into Starbucks that yells over his blueberry muffin not being heated does not have a healthy cup of love to pour from. And that's why self-love has to come first. It's not selfish. It's actually selfish not to put self-love first. And they've done a ton of studies, and I quote a lot of Dr. Gabor Mate in the book, that people who get cancer, almost all of them are people pleasers, don't take care of themselves. And cancer cells vibrate really low, like shame, anger, and guilt. Love is 200, and cancer cells are less than 100. So the more wisdom you download into your soul, your body will naturally vibrate higher, and the more healthy you will naturally be. So self-love, partner love, child love, family love, other community love. But I go over that, in the book, how, I saw that through our interactions, how like through our arguments and challenges, and women really need to see and accept that the universe is a mirror. Just because they feel a certain way doesn't make it true for everybody. Okay. Women are the emotional center. So we need to be able to express ourselves, and men need to learn to hold space without trying to fix their problems. Because this is how it works for women and men. This is how we're different. Men sees a problem in their back of their brain, sends it straight to the front of their brain to solve the problem. Hey, want to have dinner? Yeah, I'll see you at 6. Bye. Guys are done. If I call up my friend, hey, you want to have dinner? My friend, I've kind of my hair and my clothes and my diet and my kids, because we have to make all these connections in our brain. So women actually use their brains more than men. And that's one reason we need more sleep. So there's a reason women are at home, sleep, with a nap during the day, potentially, and sleeping at night, because we use our bodies differently. So we have to acknowledge that if women need to accept that the universe is a mirror showing us ourselves, then men need to accept that they need to hold space for women and not tell them what to do. Don't make their emotions logical. I think that's one problem men run into.
It's funny you were talking about women use more of their brains, and because they need more sleep because of that burning that's going on and so forth, that energy that's being exhausted or utilized or whatever. Barbie and I used to talk about, she also needed 1,287 words in a day to be used. And so that was, but it's funny you said that, because she what is somebody who does require more sleep. Like I get 4 right now I can average up to 7 hours of sleep, but I don't really, especially now with this freaking show, man. I wake up at 4 and I go, all right, boom, and I get in here as quick as I can. But yeah, I mean that's an interesting pushback that you had there, because it's the science meeting. What'd you talk about? The whole thing, science
contraries. Yeah, exactly. we have to understand, like, women, our hormonal clock, our hormones are different every day, where men are more on a 24-hour clock. Men, this whole 9 to 5 is a masculine schedule, not a feminine schedule.
Right.
And so all of our hormones are jacked or messed up from like our food, the birth control pill, our water. Women, when a woman acts like a man, she builds testosterone. When a man's in his emotions too much, he builds feminine hormones, and then he's out of whack. It's men are men and women are women, and we just got to learn. We just got to accept reality that's the way.
We just got to go back to the science,
like something really amazing. So in 2022, the Nobel Peace Prize, it was about quantum entanglements, and that's about two pieces of energy connecting anywhere in the universe and having an instantaneous interaction. And that's souls. Yeah. Like, how do I talk to a soul 3,000 miles away when it's instant? Like, I can get information about someone that isn't next to me. And that's how we're all, reality is much more, it's not linear, it's much more complex. Time doesn't exist the way we think it exists. And that's been scientifically proven as well. But I mean, I needed the science, but now I'm working on a film adaptation with the global studio that can handle some Andrew Tate, and I'm working on getting traditionally published. And so, but my book was the second edition because I had to work Jared into the book, because Jared came through during my first enlightenment, but I didn't understand why, because we hadn't interacted yet. But Jared, through interacting with him for 7 weeks in the fall, I mean, he was like times 10 more difficult than the other guys. And I even mentioned that the fire captain, that was like my final exam. I didn't know Jared was coming. And I even, published the book with that in it, because I didn't know that was coming. But oh my God.
That's that prelude, that the other is a prelude to this next one then. Yeah. Right.
But you know how women will say, oh, well, there aren't any good men. Well, no, girlfriend, you're not a good woman, so you're not attracting in good men. You got your work to do. And I had another interview, a different podcast. She's like, yeah, it was like I was dating the same guy with a different name and a different body. I'm like, right, because our wounds, that's how we're attracted to each other's wounds. That's why we have self-improvement opportunities. And I even have videos of psychologists saying this. But our souls plan our lives based on our wounds. So if you don't have a sexual assault wound or a fear of men wound, that won't happen to you. So the only way to address sexual assault, which I think one of the main complaints of what people call the patriarchy, right, is men sexually assaulting women, but men are also getting sexually assaulted as children as well. And so we have to address that. Like, Andrew Tate is a prime example of that. Like, he had a, traumatic childhood. I was sexually assaulted as a child, but I can't speak for these men, right? But, based on how wounds work. And so they have to heal too, but we have to hold space for the healing. That a man like Andrew Tate, who scares so many people, is valuable for so many reasons. Like, he showed me what a healer I am. So the fire captain, his soul taught me that a man will open his heart to a woman when her love is stronger than his brute. I'm like, well, let me apply that analogy to me and Andrew. So my capacity for compassion and healing as a healer is stronger than Andrew Tate, 4-time UFC world champion's capacity for brute strength as a fighter. I'm like, I think I can help some people, but like in 2022, I had someone tell me that I'm a healer's healer. I'm here to heal other healers. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now, because if I get to the megaphones, the Andrew Tate, and I help his heart become balanced, then what comes out of his heart is balanced. So that's more time effective. Like, that's good planning, right? So if I can get to the fire academy instructors because of their mental health crisis, it's the cadet program is the stopgap, and here's why. And I call him Jim in the book, mentioned that a lot of the cadets have unresolved childhood trauma. So we're attracted to what's familiar so that we can see ourselves. When you have unresolved childhood trauma, it would make sense, the fire department, military, that men are attracted to that. And there's 32 global studies showing that 57% of firefighters have PTSD. And there's also studies showing that PTSD as an adult, you have it as a child because you did not create a secure attachment to self, learning to surf the waves of life as a child. So, so these men, like, they all have these challenges and they all have their similar wounds. So Andrew Tate he's an example of the challenge. But now I've identified people in the fire department are example of the challenge. If we want to get rid of sexual promiscuity, which leads to sexual assault, we got to address it everywhere, and we have to hold space for the men to heal. We have to hold space.
Yeah, that's. I mean, just like what Ryan's saying here, this is such a soul nourishing conversation. Grateful to be here, Ryan. Beautiful. How did studying, now we've talked about this a little bit, so kind of, just kind of repolish here. Rod, thank you so much. A bunch of more questions just came in. How did studying East Asian religion impact your approach to healing? I mean, it's that energy that East Asia brings in that is different. Deeper.
Well, I love complex situations, and East Asian religious studies is complex because they brought in fine economics and politics and culture and society. So the complexity and the ability to analyze within that complexity really, really helped me. Like the academic rigor, I would say, really had my ability to have a lot of academic rigor to explain everything in my book, like around the laws of physics, psychology, neuroscience. Like I have Dr. Joe Dispenza in there because it's we need the brain, we need the neuroscience. Like I would have had Andrew Huberman in there, but I didn't have a quote from him. But I'm a nerd. I'm a total nerd, and I love me being at home, reading, YouTube videos, researching relationships. How does this work? How does that work? I guess that is the main way, but also to be able to turn around and say, to have all the academic knowledge of Buddhism, and I've, lived in Buddhist monasteries, that no one taught me that enlightenment is an emotion.
That's a big deal, isn't it? Buddhism.
Huge deal. And no one taught me that the wisdom in those nuns' hearts was also in my heart. No one taught me the most important stuff for me personally. And so, I got an axe to grind with religious studies. I got an axe to grind with Christianity, So, and this is the thing.
Stop right there. Stop right there. You're hitting on another subject. This podcast is based on the book I'm writing. It's a memoir as well, so nonfiction. So I'm going. I was starting to query agents. They love the writing, all that. I didn't have a platform, so you know how that is. You're limited.
Yeah.
So I came here to build a platform, and this is built off of each chapter in the book.
Oh.
And you're hitting on a number of them. So go ahead, go back over that, and then I want to come back to that and do something. So continue on, please.
Okay, so and I met, my soul has a plan, so it sets me up for success, right? I can't be a victim in my life if my soul plans every moment. I can't be a victim. So when I was in Tibet in 93, I met someone instrumental. So in Tibetan Buddhism, you have the Dalai Lama, and he's reincarnated. And then you have 4 types of Tibetan Buddhism, 4 sects, and they're also reincarnated. So in 1992 was the first time the Chinese government allowed Tibet to select a reincarnated monk for the head of those 4 sects. There's 4 different heads, but he's the top of the 4, so to speak.
Hold there. So those 4 sects, is that sects? Is that like the Quran? Is that are they the prophets that are? Because I know Buddhism is different. We actually in the book we have the 13th chapter is called is about religion, comparing the 4 major religions and including Buddhism, because there's it's more of a living, a life, but there's what you're talking about right now. So when you
It's
said the
definitely-
sex, is
Yeah.
that connected in that story, or are you talking about something different? Because I'm learning something a little different here.
It's just there's 4 types of Tibetan Buddhism. So that's what
Okay.
I'm calling a sect. Like there's many types of Christianity, like
Christian. Okay. Gotcha.
Catholicism, that kind of thing. It would be like-
Protestant, Southern Baptist, I mean, yeah, all over the place. Absolutely. Gotcha.
like,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
So those 4 sects are different a little
Yeah.
bit.
So they selected the reincarnated monk. He's called the Karmapa in 1992. So in 1993, when I was there, I met an American woman who was going to meet a special monk. So she took me to meet this monk. And so I met the monk at 7 years old, and he has since at 14, he escaped Tibet. He did a TED talk at 20. The Dalai Lama is, older. So in the fall, when I was going through in and out of enlightenment and seeing all this, I was talking to Karmapa's soul a lot, but there's a reason that I met him. Then like Christianity. Okay. So what I downloaded is, I was focused most on that we don't value women's ability to create life and all like human life and also fuel masculinity. Well, Christianity kind of sees and paints the woman as the helpmate, but the wisdom that I download in the fall doesn't paint it like that. So when I connected to Jared, and it was just like explosive. I'm like, what do you mean he's my masculine and this? And like all these things were coming out, and it was gnarly. And so I asked the universe, I'm like, okay. How are masculine and feminine souls created? And this is what I was told. The intent. So let me back up a second. There were souls, and then we are evolving, and then we want to experience ourselves. We want to see ourselves. When in order to see ourselves, we need a mirror, and our opposite is our best mirror. Like you don't know what tall is unless you know what short is. You don't know what a woman is unless you know what a man is. You don't know what beautiful is unless you know what ugly is. You have to have the contrary to see yourself. Okay. So then we needed to divide into masculine and feminine to see ourselves, to like evolve the planet, to be humans, souls having a human experience on earth, and all the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that we can gain through doing that. So the universe told me that the intent to create the masculine soul creates the feminine soul. Then the feminine soul tears out half of her heart chakra to create the masculine soul. But again, there is the feminine energy being creation, being source energy. That's not a helpmate. That's equal. That's the center. And that's why the kids always revolve around the mom. They always, follow the mom to the bathroom, and the animals, like the mom that's the energy center. And that's the dad goes out and comes back to the center. This is what we have to acknowledge. But this is why I keep saying that we're like kind of like we've downloaded maybe less than 1% of all the wisdom and knowledge out there, because we're just at the beginning understanding ourselves.
Yeah, I saw a thing on social media the other day that kind of hit me. And there's all these little reels and stuff, and people are getting very creative because we have all this technology, and it's pretty interesting. So they're telling stories this way, right? Yeah. And it's a guy talking in the background, and it's a lion and a lioness walking next to each other in the jungle. And then he says something to the effect of, with this protection, why is the mom still so not secure? And then he says, because she's taking care of the family, the household. She's making sure that the cubs are secure. And then she walks over, and he just makes sure she's secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what you've been talking about. This like Richard here, he's saying this has been inspiring, which it has. And thank you for sharing your heart. But I wanted to get to Ronaldo here real quick. This is a really, I'm going to set this up. Ronaldo is a very good friend of the show, and of me digitally. We've never met, but I follow her work. She's very creative. She tells stories through imagery, and she's very much like producer Barbie is, who I'm sure is here. Although they're a couple hours behind. Yeah, she probably just drinking her coffee. But she is very much into this, and I know a little bit about this. I think I know a little bit about this question. Ronaldo, thank you for your question. How do you break away from the wrong person?
So the process is to turn the wounds that attracted this person into your life into wisdom. So that's the self-care. That's the, do you do yoga? Do you have a self-reflection practice? Do you have a gratitude practice? How's your diet? How much time do you spend processing your emotions? So do you give yourself
You got to
permission?
work the muscle.
You got
You
like
gotta
I had to learn to rest, but it took me 9 months to kill the terrorist in my head. So those are all the things is like, in the
Wait,
morning,
the terrorist?
the
Did you
terrorist,
just say a terrorist?
which, my ex is Israeli. Like my maiden
That's
name is
funny.
Buzoglo, which is like Luciano. I mean, it's like the most Israeli last name. Like Carrie's Irish, right? Buzoglo is Israeli. That's fighter squared, right? So let's go. But yeah, so the
Fighter squared.
yeah, you got to break free from the wounds that attracted that person into your life. And the only way to do that is to turn that into wisdom. And my book will give you a lot of tips about how to self-reflect and how to engage in those practices. And you can reach out to me on my website at kerryblaser.com if you'd like.
When you said that, I realized, hey, I've been just kind of chilling with this conversation. And every once in a while, especially in the beginning, I took it over. I apologize. So I just sat back and enjoyed the vibe. But I forgot to tell you, please, you know how these things go. Obviously, we're at an hour and a half. We still have 240 people on. That's impressive. I mean, usually over an hour, things start to, they're out of their lunch or whatever, and they'll come back and look at it later, which always happens. People are coming back in a week, a month, a day, whatever. And then they're saying, wait, what did Carrie mean by that? In the comments. And I'm like, look, Carrie's the expert. So would you put your contact information in the private chat? I'm gonna read a couple more here, and then I'm gonna get you to. You got a little fan club additional. Oh, there, you did that fast. You are good. You must have already had me in the vibe there. I think I was already set up.
I know how to do a couple things.
That's the website, right? Okay.
Yeah,
you got them both on there. Got them both on there.
Email is on there, or there's a contact, thing you can fill out if you have any, questions or need advice. Yeah.
So I just put on that. Now the second one, Carrie and Red Pill. Oh, that's the name of it. That's the name of it.
Yeah, I have two Instagram accounts, Kerry Blaser, and YouTube is Kerry Blaser. And then also something that can help everybody. I have a 15-minute video on my YouTube channel that has a short meditation that helps you, create a secure attachment to self, cut codependencies. And then I do about 10 minutes of shamanic drumming, and that will open your heart and you'll learn. This is someone had, how do you, intuition to healing to intuition. This will really help you do that. And intuition, it's a muscle. So I had to learn. But if that's in your soul's plan, the falling down, that's all part of the process. It's all part of the learning. The only reason we're here is to learn. So you can't let things up. Like everything was planned. The murders, the rapes, everything is part of our collective plan for us to see ourselves and improve.
That is awesome. Give everybody a big goodbye and a hello and a closing thought. Anything that I know that kind of was a closing thought there, but I'm going to throw you in the green room while I copy this over. Say a closing thought so I can not look so bad. Grab their attention, please.
The most important piece of wisdom that I use is the 2-ball experiment. Those hills and valleys are necessary. Learn to surf the waves of life. Triggers are your healing friend and not your healing foe. When your emotional pain is at the surface, it is your emotional pain and not the other person. The person triggered your pain, did you a favor, be grateful for it. There's appreciate, learn, forgive. Okay. And then the universe is a mirror. What you see in others, also see inside of yourself. If you see selfishness in others, ask yourself, how am I being selfish? When you see others treating people poorly, ask yourself, how am I treating people poorly? You invite people, you attract people into your life based on your wounds. So that other person that you attracted for a romantic relationship is not more messed up than you. You have equal wounds. And I get into that in the book as well.
That is awesome. Well, I am going to, not physically, but I'm going to throw you into the green room.
Okay.
I'm going to wrap up here. Let's stay in touch. Actually, you know what? I'll just stay in there for a second. I'm gonna have to run because I got to run over to the other place and go, "Hey, how you doing? New show. Let's talk about this."
Okay.
So it's gonna be quicker than but give a final here. Say wave goodbye. I think you've got a great. Oh wow, even more people are coming on. Great thing.
Yeah, pick up my book. It's $2.99 on Amazon as an ebook, and it has all of my trials, my tribulations. You can hear everything I learned from Justin and Andrew, everything about the fire department, and how I processed my wound of having a fear of being sexually assaulted.
Yeah, powerful story. Seriously, these are the 3 contact bits that we have available. So when they come back on, I like to leave it at the bottom so everybody knows that when they come back, they don't have to go through the 40 or whatever questions here. Boom, right at the bottom. So we're gonna leave that there. Give everybody a big wave goodbye. Give me a couple of minutes. I'll come in, say, let's keep in contact. Okay, bye. And then I'm out. All right. So hold on. I'll talk to you in a sec. All right. So that was awesome. As predicted, I'm starting to really, I'm biased. Okay, shut up. But I'm really starting to believe this is a kick-ass show that just deserves every one of you to tell all your friends to subscribe and like. We're really getting to a point where I can get back to my I can do this from anywhere. The machinery business I wrapped up, as you well know. There's even some stuff out on social media about it, but that's landlocked. I had to be here in the Midwest and built a business over 30 years. Started on the West Coast, but that's not a very healthy place for business, so to speak. And then family obviously moving back home and back out west. I'm producer Barbie and I are looking for a place that I can kind of get off the grid and hang out and just enough power to run a signal out and some internet and a town that's close enough that I can at least get some food supplies and get my 2 big old doggies over there and maybe even a couple of friends, maybe an acre or so, and do this for the rest of my life. This is a great experience that you guys have provided for not only yourselves, but for me. I told somebody, I think it was yesterday, how this has become such a powerful. You guys are listening to, Carrie and what's going on there. Now I have another review tonight, so I get to watch it from your view. But I'm literally, this knowledge comes in. We do 1 or 2 shows a day, every day, Monday through Friday. Starting to fool around with a couple of other things. And on top of that, which I'm going to have to postpone till later, usually we do a coffee and tea time where we talk about an open mic, including the subjects of the show we just had, Carrie's, and then the shows coming up. And that'll be actually in about 25 minutes. So I'm going to pop off really quick. I'm going to go refill my water. I'm running a little low and refill and recork and do all that stuff. And I want to talk to Carrie a minute because we obviously want to stay in touch. And, because this is about you guys. This is about insights and straight talk. I'm your host. I'm Rod Duff, of course. And I always will be, by the way. And you guys know producer Barbie, but at some point I'm just out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.